Give the guy a break. He lived in Ethiopia. He was king over Ethiopia for some 30, 40 years. He liked Ethiopian women. What's wrong with that?
Hello.
What's wrong with that? He had a thing for Ethiopian women.
Yeah.
Now, if this was Zipporah, I don't know. But I do know Moshe liked Ethiopian women.
Yeah.
But that didn't sit well with Miriam and with Aaron. Let me read this to you. Right, this is from the Restoration Scriptures True Name Edition. Racial prejudice in Israel is deadly. Listen carefully. And can lead to further lusting for power and position over others. Racism is a manifestation of a corrupted heart. In Israel, as it was in the days of old, we are made up of all colors, pigmentations especially, as we recall that Ephraim and Manasseh carried Hamite blood and brown skin, having been born in Mitzrayim, having had an Egyptian mother. Also, Moshe's children, now this is a real hard one. Ready for this? If Moshe was married to an Ethiopian woman, and he was kind of white and kind of dark, and she was very dark, excuse me, what color do you think the children were? White?
They were probably pretty dark.
Wow, so hold it. Now, Moshe's got this thing for Ethiopian women. Moshe's children had dark skin. This starts redefining the whole paradigm of who is Israel. We've got this mental stereotype in the world, in our culture, that in order to be Israel, you have to be less than 5 foot tall, speak with a Polish accent, be white, and come from Europe. I don't like the matzo ball soup. Send it back to the waiter. Bring me a gefilte fish. It smells. Do you wash the dishes? You don't wash the dishes? Verwasch nicht. I don't eat in places that are dirty. I keep a clean home and I keep a nice restaurant. Your houses should be clean. Your restaurant should be clean. See, if they don't speak with a Polish accent, come from Europe, and are less than 5 feet, they can't be Israel. This is learned religious poppycock, cultural brainwashing that we have picked up through thousands of years in the exile. Just the opposite. If that little white person from Europe, a midget and with white skin, we should look at her and go, "Are you Israel?" Because Moshe's kids didn't look anything like you. See? Some people, this goes down. This doesn't go down easy. Now let's continue. Moshe's children were dark-skinned due to Zipporah being an Ethiopian, or this woman, if you don't believe it's Zipporah. So in the restoration of all things, we realize full well that many multitudes of modern-day black people are the biological offspring of the true people of Israel. While the world may be shocked by the reality of black Jews, let alone black Ephraimites, we should know our nation's true history better and not find our multicolored nation to be of a great shock or a great surprise. Does this make sense? Let's continue. Verse 2. So racial misunderstanding leads to division and rebellion. Miriam and Aharon did not understand that Israel, kosher Israel, comes in all races and in all colors. They didn't understand that. So what did they do? They rose up, manifested bigotry, caused division, and created problems in the camp.
Criticize.
Because they didn't understand. Not much has changed. Not much has changed. Verse 2. And they said, "Has Yahweh indeed spoken only by Moshe? Has he not spoken by us and Yahweh heard us?" What's the implication? The implication is he cannot be hearing from Yahweh, because if he was, he would marry a black woman.
Hello.
He can't be hearing from Yahweh. That's the implication, isn't it? It is a subtle accusation, isn't it?
Yeah.
If he was really hearing from Yahweh, he wouldn't be marrying this woman of color. Isn't that the implication? So Miriam and Aharon rise up and says, "Pardon me, Moses, I want you to know that Yahweh speaks to us. And what you're doing is of the flesh. You're gratifying the flesh. Because don't you know that all Israelites are gonna come from Poland, be less than 5 feet, and eat matzo ball soup? Don't you know that?
She probably said,
And you're screwing up the plan, Moses. Moses said, hold on a second. I had a thing for Ethiopian women before I knew who Israel was, and before I knew anything about an Exodus, and before I knew anything about a land of Canaan, and before I knew anything about a land flowing with milk and honey. I enjoy the company of Ethiopian women.
she probably,
Smoke that in your religious pipe, Bubba.
Miriam and Aaron probably said, why you married that Schwarzer?
You know, they Cushite. Cushite. But notice the implication. Notice the implication. Moshe, you can't leave the people in the midbar because you don't know how to hear from Yahweh. Yahweh would never tell you to marry a woman of another pigmentation. Racial prejudice is rebellion. Listen. Racial bigotry is a manifestation of a heart that is predisposed to rebellion. Don't be fooled. Yahweh hears the rebellion. So we see here that racial prejudice is a manifestation of a heart filled with rebellion. Okay?
Yes.
A heart filled with rebellion of the equality of all Yahweh's creation manifests bigotry, but the core issue is a problem with rebellion.
Right.
That a heart full of rebellion manifests in many ways, one of which is racial bigotry. Because if someone's prejudiced and bigoted, they have a heart full of rebellion against their Creator, against the truth of who is Israel, against the truth of who we are as reborn Israel. But even without that, rebellion against the Creator, that all men are created equal, that all men come from one man. Didn't Rav Shul say so? In Maaseh Shlichim 18, didn't he say so? He goes, of a truth he had made of all nations from one blood.
Amen.
So Miriam and Aharon are manifesting a rebellion against Yahweh. When a person is manifesting the sin of racial bigotry, rest assured that is just the manifestation of a heart filled with rebellion. You cannot curse a man or a woman made in the image of Yahweh and bless Yahweh with the same mouth that you curse another human being made in the similitude and image of Yahweh. Because out of the same fountain it is impossible for both bitter and sweet water to flow.
Amen.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Now, and Yahweh heard it. Circle those words.
Yeah, and Yahweh heard.
This message again, a place of caves. I'll take you to the cave. Relax. Yahweh hears it. You can keep it silent. Your friends can keep it silent. Your acquaintances can keep it silent. You can put on a good religious mask. But if you hate a person just because of their different lineage, race, or color, not only is it the sin of rebellion, which i.e. is synonymous with the sin of witchcraft, rest assured, P.S., postscript, Yahweh hears it.
Come on.
Not only does Yahweh hear it, when he hears it, he doesn't stand still. When he hears it, he doesn't stand silent. When he hears it, he moves very quickly, without prayer, without meditation, without saying the rosary beads. He moves right into action.
Hashem Yahweh.
When Yahweh hears, and how does he hear? He reads your heart. You and me have to hear. He hears your heart. Yahweh swings right into action.
Every little word.
He swings right into action.
That's right.
Now watch this. Now the man Moshe is very interesting, an incredible parsha. Now the man Moshe was very meek. Now what does it mean to be meek? Is this how we define meekness? I love you. I love you too. I don't hate anybody. Is everybody watching how humble I am? I want to look up to heaven. Are you catching my humility now? Meek doesn't mean weak.
Amen.
Meek means teachable from the Ruach, teachable from Yahweh, teachable. You've never arrived. You can still learn from others. You can still learn from Yahweh. You can still learn from your brothers and sisters. We've erased the M and put the letter W. Meekness does not equal or is not analogous with weakness.
You have to turn the W upside
The
down.
great men and women of Yahweh are bold, strong, and crazy enough to keep talking when the world tells them to shut up. So just because you don't talk a lot, sweetheart, doesn't mean you're not meek. It could mean you have a mental problem, or it could mean you have a disorder, or it could mean you're on the quiet side, or it could mean you're an introvert, which is fine. That's not a sin to be introverted, but it could also mean there's a heart full of rebellion. And you don't want to talk because people will see that out of the abundance of the heart. The mouth speaks. Yahweh hears the heart. How does he hear it? Does he use his ears to hear the heart? No. He uses his omniscience, omnipresence. So Moshe was the meekest man, and you have to be, right? He was married to a black woman and lost his kingship. Here he marries another black woman, and his brother and the Kohen HaGadol are about to turn him in. I mean, he's not in trouble with the sheriff's office. This is the Kohen HaGadol. Hello? I'm not going to pray for you. I'm not going to do sacrifices for you. Don't come to see me. My office is closed. Why? Because you're intermarrying. Don't you know that Yahweh's plan in the future is to make all Israelites speaking Polish and eating matzo ball soup and cucumbers?
Fill the fish.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So here, now why out of left field does it say in this parsha, Moshe was meek? In order to live with that abuse from your fellow citizens and your fellow brothers and your fellow Israelites who are rebellious and they don't only always love and equality for all humanity, you gotta be pretty meek to live with that. You understand? You gotta be pretty meek. Meaning you take a lot, and then when you finish taking, you take some more abuse. And P.S., postscript, your brother and the Kohen HaGadol and your sister are not going to understand that Israel is Joseph's coat of many colors. You know, some people, you get uptight even listening to this. They can't, they get uptight because we don't talk about race. I submit to you that if we can't talk about it, you've got a problem already. I don't see them having a problem talking about it on Oprah Winfrey or Montel Williams. They seem to do a good job of talking about it. But when they talk about it, they don't talk it from Yahweh's perspective. They talk it from a secular humanist perspective. I don't hear Rush Limbaugh having a problem talking about race. If there's no rebellion or hatred in your heart to other people who look different than you do, then you wouldn't have a problem talking about it. You wouldn't have a problem listening to it.
That's right.
Especially from a white man. Handsome white man. But a white man. So why was he meek? Why was he meek? Because he was able to take this kind of dastardly abuse above all the men that were on the face of the earth. That's what made him meek. He would learn even from his pain. He would learn even from his heartache. He would learn even from his grief. He would learn even from rebellion within his family. He was looking to learn. Not to get back at Aharon. Not to get back at Miriam. But to say, Yahweh, what are you teaching me? I'm meek. What's the lesson here? Let me learn this quick so I can get to the next phase. That's what meekness is. Why have you given me this illness? Why have you put me in this circumstance? Why have you tied my hands? Why have you tied my purse? Why have you tied my emotions? Why have you put the, why? What do you want me to learn? I want to learn and graduate real quick. Because nobody likes to stay in the school of hard knocks. You know why? Because sometimes those classes never graduate. There's no ceremony. There's no graduation ceremony. The school of hard knocks is not always the most pleasant place to be. And think about Moshe. He lost his kingship because he had problems with an Ethiopian wife who turned him in. And now he found an Ethiopian wife that loves him, and his sister and his brother, the Kohen HaGadol. How would you like to have the Kohen HaGadol tell you, I am not your Kohen HaGadol until you get rid of that woman? Now, that could have happened, couldn't it? That's when the heart is full of misunderstanding and wickedness and rebellion, it could refuse to walk in the truth that Yahweh has shown it. Okay, continue. Moshe's meekness was also a result in context. Turn to your neighbor and say, in context.
In context.
Not contract, context. Let's try that again. In context.
Context. He didn't have a marriage contract.
In context, that's true. In context, what is the difference between Moshe's meekness and Aharon and Miriam's lack of meekness? Moshe's meekness is in great part due to the fact that he is colorblind. Colorblind. In context. He could minister to anybody Yahweh sends him to. He could lay hands on anybody Yahweh sends him to. He could break bread and have fellowship with anybody Yahweh sends him to. His meekness in context is a direct contrast to the lack of meekness in his brother and in his sister. He was colorblind. You know how the two houses are going to be restored? With colorblind people who don't care what you look like, what race you're from. They want to know one thing. Are you willing to say, V'zot HaTorah Asher Sa Moshe B'fnei Bnei Yisrael Pi Yahweh Yad Moshe. They want to know that. They want to know if you want to think, Etz Chaim Hi. Do you know how to sing Etz Chaim Hi? If you are, you're my brother, regardless of your pigmentation or lack thereof, or whether we're a perfect fleshly match.
Amen.
Oh, man.
So Moshe's meekness was due to his lack of rebellion, his pure love, and his fact that he made his choices on Yahweh's will, and he was colorblind. How many colors, when you have a family pet, a dog, how many colors do they usually see with?
Dogs.
Black and white.
Isn't that a good analogy?
Yeah.
A dog will love its owner regardless of its pigmentation.
That's
They're
right.
colorblind.
Yeah. Dogs are colored.
That's meekness. That's why they're meek animals, and they are man's best friend.
Amen.
Verse 4. And Yahweh spoke suddenly to Moshe. So when we have rebellion in our heart, listen, when we have rebellion in our heart, which bigotry is a manifestation of rebellion and lack of meekness, listen, not only will Yahweh hear, you'll be hearing Yahweh's voice very, very suddenly. As in, you expect to be encountered.
Suddenly.
Expect to be startled. I believe Yeshua said, if you live by the sword, you'll perish by the sword. If you live by bigotry, you'll die as a victim of bigotry. Now watch this. Yahweh spoke suddenly. In other words, he didn't call an elders meeting. He didn't dial 1-800, call priest. He didn't say, I'll meet you in the lobby of the Hard Rock Casino. Yahweh immediately addressed the situation. Spoke to Moshe and Aharon and to Miriam and said, Come rein, kinder, come rein. We're having a meeting now. Not later, now.
Me too.
Verse 4. Yahweh spoke suddenly, pitom, suddenly, to Moshe, into Aharon and to Miriam and said, Come out, you three, to the tabernacle of the congregation. In other words, we're coming into my house. Meet me at my house. Not at 5 o'clock after you get off from work. Now.
Achshav.
Now. Achshav. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Yahweh moves quickly in correction when racial bigotry occurs in believers. I'll say that again. Yahweh moves quickly in correction when racial strife, bigotry occurs in believers. Yahweh came down in the pillar of the cloud. Why did he come down? He has to stoop to our level to get through to us. We're walking in bigotry and racism. You go, "Ooh, I gotta get down into the dirt and knock some sense into your head."
Yeah. But still,
Yahweh came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aharon and Miriam, and they both came out. So 3 showed up, 2 are called into the meeting. Hello? 3 came out, 2 are called into the meeting. The 2 that are not meek, the 2 that are not colorblind, the one who is meek and loves all of Yisrael, regardless of their pigmentation, they get a pass. Moshe was meek, he didn't need to be addressed. So next time somebody says, well, I don't know, if Yahweh allows mixed couples in Israel. Well, sweetheart, I don't know about the church, and I don't know about the Baptists, and I don't know about the Methodists. But when Yahweh is rebuilding Israel, rest assured, he will, not only does he allow mixed couples, he will personally call a meeting to anyone who dares speak against those folks. He'll come down and visit them and say, you two, I want the high priest, and I want the sister of the Torah giver. I want 2 of you privately here now. So Yahweh will hear it, and not only will he hear it, he will move by himself. He will bypass human agency, and he'll deal with prejudice and bigotry on his own. He'll bypass human agency.
personally.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Well, that's not true, brother. Yeshua chose 12 and they were all white Jews. Really? Really? Simon the Canaanite was Jewish, you think?
Don't think.
Simon the Canaanite, you think he was Jewish?
Don't think so.
Some of you look so religious, I want to stop. Simon the Canaanite. Canaanite. But you go to Messianic Judaism, well, the Lord had 12 Jewish boys. He had 12 Jewish boys. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Baruch Hashem. That's why we had one from each tribe, right? All 12 tribes are Jews, right? Okay. Let's continue. Yahweh came down and called Aharon and Miriam. They both came out. Bigotry will come out. Yahweh will call it out. One way or another, he'll deal with it in Israel. He may not deal with it in the world. Judgment, as Pearl said, judgment first must begin at the house of Yahweh. Doesn't matter if he deals with it in Harlem. Doesn't matter if he deals with it on Martin Luther King Boulevard. Doesn't matter if he deals with it in Boca Raton on Glades Road. In the Sage Deli. What matters is what's going on in the camp. In the camp. Here's where he's going to deal with it first. How are we going to administer healing to the world when we can't even deal with it ourselves? We can't even talk about it. It's too touchy. It's too sensitive. Yahweh said this. He said, now listen, hear my words. Okay, who's the mediator? Who's mediating Yahweh's words here?
Nobody.
Nobody. Yahweh's talking directly to you.
Yeah.
Yahweh's talking directly. Verse number 6. He said, hear my words. Meaning, I'm going to speak plain. My, if there be a Navi among you, I, Yahweh, will make myself known to him in a vision. I will speak to him in a cholam, in a dream. My servant Moshe is not like that. Not so. Who is faithful in all my bayit. You missed that. What's the difference between Miriam, Aharon, and Moshe? One better than the other? No. Why does Yahweh speak directly to Moshe, but through visions and dreams to Miriam and to Aharon? Because Moshe was faithful in all and to all and upon all, every child of Yahweh in renewed covenant Israel. He didn't see white or black or brown or yellow. He was faithful in all the house. Aharon and Miriam were faithful to a segment in the house.
Yes.
Moshe was faithful in Kol Habayit, to everyone in the house.
Amen.
Amen. The whole house.
So Moshe gets my voice, you get dreams and visions. Well, brother, I want you to know I'm more spiritual than you. Really? Why? I've had one dream for breakfast, two visions for lunch, and 3.5 visions for dessert. Really? And listen, I'll take a direct word from Yeshua any day. I want to hear his voice directly.
Amen.
Maybe he appears to you in a dream and a vision, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what about hearing his voice directly?
Amen.
According to that, it's a sign of faithfulness. Huh? That doesn't mean hear voices. That could be the barbecue next door. How do I know when Yahweh's speaking to me? It's a leading, it doesn't leave, it continues, I sleep it, I wake with it, I walk with it, I live with it, I know he's leading me, and one day I take the first step. I taught about that the last 2 weeks. He's leading me, it won't go away, it's burning, it's a zeal, the zeal of Yahweh is consuming me, and finally one day I take the first step, and he takes number 2, 3, and 4.
Right. Yes, he does.
Oh yes, Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Hashem Yahweh.
So Yahweh says, no, look, my servant Moshe is not so. He is faithful to all the children of all colors, all Israelites, white, black, yellow, in between, mixed, multitude, mixed. He's faithful in all my body. With him, verse 8, I speak mouth to mouth. Okay?
Face to face.
Peh el peh in Hebrew. Panaim el panaim is face to face. Peh el peh, mouth to mouth. Even apparently. What does that mean apparently? No parables, no riddles, no hidden meanings. I don't speak sod. I speak pashat.
Straightforward.
Straight. His heart is straight, I'm straight. I speak straight, not parables. Why didn't Yeshua speak to the world in parables and to his Talmidim? Why? Because he had to straighten them out. They were not faithful in all his house. They were faithful in some things, but not in other things. Proof of the matter is, when he rose from the dead, he didn't go, Tov avodah talmidai. He rebuked them and upbraided them for their unbelief. They had a lot of weaknesses, as we all do. But he saw it when it came to lack of bigotry embedded in the heart. Moshe was faithful in all the Bible. So with him I will speak mouth to mouth, even apparently in Peshat, not in dark speeches or in parables, riddles, in the sephirah or the form. Now it's very interesting, the Hebrew word here, and I can't go look it up now, but I believe I read it earlier today. The Hebrew word is temunah. Danny, what's temunah?
Timunah is like an image,
Picture.
picture.
Okay, image. It literally says that because he lacked bigotry, racial bigotry based on one human being better than another, that not only would Yahweh speak to him directly, he would allow Moshe to see his picture. Now you know Christianity?
No
Oh, we're talking about you.